Let's get more on the ceasefire now with Mouin Rabbani. He's the co-editor at Jadaliyya and a non-resident fellow at the Centre for Conflict and Humanitarian Studies. Welcome back to the program, Mouin. Do you believe Israel is using delays in body transfers as a pretext to undermine or potentially walk away from this ceasefire deal?
Yes, of course. I mean, there are 50 million tons of rubble in the Gaza Strip. Hamas does not have the heavy equipment needed to excavate the bodies. And it is also said that in some cases, it's still seeking to determine their location. Israel could very easily allow the heavy equipment in, but it has chosen not to. And it is now using this as a pretext to restrict the delivery of humanitarian aid. As your correspondent said, none has yet reached Gaza City. And it's quite clear what's happening. Israel is determined to, at best, return to the situation that existed on the 6th of October 2023, where you had a full-scale blockade, where conditions for Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are kept as miserable as possible in the hope that these people who it could not forcibly expel en masse will begin to trickle out gradually and in increasing numbers.
What's your assessment of the ceasefire's stability right now, especially given that both sides are accusing each other of violating the deal?
Well, in terms of violent violations of the deal, according to those who are looking into this, there hasn't been a single rock or projectile or bullet fired from the Palestinian side, but several dozen Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire. I suspect it's going to go on in this way, a partial ceasefire, Israel restricting deliveries of urgently needed humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. And I think the real test will come with when negotiations commence on the second phase, because there Israel is placing absolutely unacceptable demands as far as the Palestinians are concerned in terms of disarmament, this obscene idea of de-radicalizing the victims but not the perpetrators of genocide, the whole question of governance of the Gaza Strip. And it's very difficult to see how those negotiations can be successfully concluded. At that point, I suspect Israel will either intensify its attacks on the Gaza Strip or will use it as a pretext to maintain a full blockade. But I think the important thing to understand is that unless and until the root causes of this issue, of this crisis, are addressed, not only in the Gaza Strip, but also in the West Bank, and this proposal that we're now talking about does nothing in that respect, unless those issues are addressed in line with equality of Palestinians and Palestinian rights, we will at best return to the 6th of October 2023. And we all know what happened on the day and in the years since that date.
So on the second phase of this deal, Hamas is calling for mediators to enforce the next stage of this ceasefire, which would include, among other things, border openings and reconstruction. Do you think regional players like Qatar and Turkey have real leverage here?
Well, they certainly have leverage with the United States, and they certainly also have a degree of leverage over Israel. The question is, will they use it? And thus far, we've seen very limited evidence to that effect. You know, again, the question becomes, to what extent are we going to deal with these urgent issues like ceasefire, entry of aid, heavy equipment, and so on, which are crucially important in and of themselves, but not use them as a pretext to pretend that there was no underlying crisis that got us to this point.
Okay, Mouin Rabbani, we will have to leave it there. Really good to get your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.